You hear that? That little voice in your head that might be reading these words along with me? For most of us, it's always there. It's the narrator of our lives. It's with us when we wake up, it's there when we're making coffee, and it's the last thing we hear before bed. But what if that narrator is working from a script that's decades out of date? Think of your inner voice as your life's operating system. The problem, most of us are still running on the default settings we got in childhood. But what if you could completely rewrite that code? What if you could take the voice that doubts you, criticizes you and tells you you're not good enough and turn it into your most powerful ally? Well, you can. And in this video, I'm going to show you the practical, science-backed ways to turn your inner critic into your biggest champion. So what is this voice really? In psychology, it's known as inner speech. And here's a fascinating fact. While it feels like a fundamental part of being human, recent 2024 research has highlighted that not everyone has one. The condition, sometimes called an endophasia, is a reminder of how differently our minds can work. For the vast majority of us who do have this inner monologue, the psychologist Lev Vygotsky had a powerful theory about where it came from. He believed it begins in early childhood. Remember seeing a kid playing, talking themselves through their every move out loud? Vygotsky's theory is that as we grow up, that external speech simply turns inward, becoming the silent dialogue we have with ourselves. It's how we plan, reflect, and figure things out. But here's the catch. That programming happened when we were young and impressionable, absorbing messages from our parents, our teachers, and our earliest mistakes. The code was written to keep us safe and to make us fit in. The result? An inner critic that often has the loudest microphone in our heads. It's the voice that screams, "You're such an idiot," after a tiny mistake. It's the narrator that loves to play a highlight reel of your most embarrassing moments, usually right as your head hits the pillow. This isn't just a bad mood, it's a deeply ingrained cognitive habit. This outdated OS holds you back, it sabotages you, it makes you second-guess your own talent, it creates a brutal feedback loop. You feel like you can't, so you don't even try, and then your inner critic smugly says, "See, told you so." Living like this is like trying to run modern software on a computer from the 90s. It's slow, it crashes, and it simply can't handle the life you want to build. But what if I told you that you have the power to install a full system upgrade? So, if this is our default setting, are we just stuck with it? Is that inner critic a permanent tenant in our minds? Neuroscience practically screams a resounding no. And the reason is one of the most exciting concepts in modern brain science: neuroplasticity. This is your brain's incredible, almost magical ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections in response to your experiences, and most importantly, your thoughts. Think of your thoughts as paths in a dense forest. Every time you think, "I'm not good enough," you're walking down that same negative path. Do it enough, and that path becomes wider, clearer, and easier to travel. Soon it's a 6-lane highway your brain takes automatically. That's how negative self-talk becomes a habit that feels so unbreakable. But neuroplasticity means you can choose to blaze a new trail. With focus and practice, you can start walking down a different path, one that says, "I am capable and I am learning." At first, this new path will feel overgrown and tough to navigate, but the more you consciously choose that thought, the clearer it gets. And as the new, positive path becomes your go-to highway, the old one starts to fade away from disuse. You are literally, physically rewiring your brain. This isn't just a nice idea. fMRI studies have shown that what we say to ourselves is linked to real, measurable changes in the brain's functional connectivity. When you engage in positive or negative self-talk, you're activating powerful parts of your brain tied to self-perception and emotion. The key takeaway is this: your inner voice isn't just fleeting, powerless noise. It's a force that is actively shaping your brain every single day. The question isn't if your inner voice is programming you. The question is what you want that programming to be. So how do we actually do this? How do we start writing new code? The trick isn't to get into a fistfight with your inner critic. That usually just makes it shout louder. Instead, we use a series of smart, compassionate, and consistent practices. Welcome to your reprogramming toolkit. You can't fix a bug you can't see. The first most critical step is pure awareness. Most of our inner critics have been with us for so long, we don't even notice them. It's just background noise. Your first mission is to become an observer of your own thoughts. When you feel that jolt of anxiety or shame, just pause and ask, what did I just say to myself? A powerful way to do this is to keep a thought log for 1 week. Use a notebook or your phone. Whenever you catch a moment of negative self-talk, write it down, word for word. What was the trigger? What was the tone? In a few days, you'll see the patterns, the specific recurring bugs your brain loves to run. This awareness is step one to taking back control. This first step is a game changer, and I want you to make a commitment. Right now, drop a comment below with one negative script you're ready to rewrite this week. Whether it's "I always mess things up" or "It's too late for me," declare it in the comments. Let's see how similar our buggy code really is. Okay, once you've spotted the negative script, it's time to rewrite it. This is a technique adapted from cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and it's all about challenging the thought and replacing it with something more accurate and helpful. This isn't about toxic positivity, it's about being more truthful. For example, your inner critic says, "I completely bombed that presentation. I'm a disaster at public speaking." First, challenge it. Was it a complete bomb, 100%, or did some parts go okay and 1 or 2 moments felt shaky? Then reframe it. "That presentation was tough, but I got through it. I felt nervous during the quanda, and that's an area I can practice for next time. This is a chance to get better." Here's a great trick called the "but" reframe. Instead of "I'll never finish this huge project," try "I feel overwhelmed by this project right now. But I've handled big challenges before, and I can break this down into tiny, manageable steps." That simple reframe is you, actively carving that new neural pathway. This next tool is one of the most powerful, and it comes from the work of psychologist Dr. Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan. His research found that how you talk to yourself makes a huge difference. When we're spiraling, we tend to use "I'm so overwhelmed," "I messed up." This keeps us drowning in the emotion. The technique is to create psychological distance by using your own name, or you. Instead of "I can't believe I made that stupid mistake," try saying your name, "You made a mistake. It happens. How are you going to solve it?" Or simply, "You've got this. You can figure this out." Why on earth does this work? Because we are far better at giving wise, compassionate advice to a friend than to ourselves. Using your name flips a switch in your brain, allowing you to step back and coach yourself like you would someone you care about. It cools down the hot, reactive emotion and brings your problem-solving brain online. Reprogramming isn't just about removing bad code, it's about proactively installing good code. You need to deliberately cultivate a supportive inner coach to take the critic's place. The critic has had years of airtime. Your coach needs some training. Here's your daily exercise. At the end of each day, write down 3 simple things. One thing you did well, no matter how small, and one quality you like about yourself, and one thing you're grateful for. For example, "I handled that awkward email with class today. I am a resilient person. I'm grateful for my ability to make people laugh." At first, this might feel cheesy or even fake, especially if your inner critic is strong. Stick with it. You are building a mountain of evidence to prove your critic wrong. You're creating a library of your own strengths and successes. This is about building self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd give a friend. So when you stumble, instead of a berating critic, your inner coach steps in and says, "It's okay, you're human, you're learning, and I've got your back." When you start using these tools consistently, something incredible begins to happen. It's not overnight, but slowly the balance of power in your mind will shift. The voice of the inner critic, once a deafening roar, will fade to a manageable hum. And the voice of your inner coach, once a tiny whisper, will become clear, confident, and strong. Life with this upgraded operating system is fundamentally different. It's not about becoming perfect or never having a negative thought again. It's about resilience. When you face a setback, instead of spiraling into self-blame, you have a toolkit to see it as a lesson. Your inner voice becomes a source of strength, not a source of more stress. Imagine waking up and instead of being hit with a mental list of your flaws, you're greeted by a partner in your own mind, ready to tackle the day with you. Imagine going after a huge goal, and when that old fear pops up, your inner voice doesn't say, "Who do you think you are?" Instead, it says, "All right, let's figure out the very first step." This transformation changes everything: your confidence, your career, your relationships, your peace of mind. You stop being your own worst enemy and finally become your own greatest champion. Bottom line, your inner voice is the most powerful tool you own. It's the narrator of your story and the engine of your actions. For too long, most of us have let it run on buggy, outdated default software. But you don't have to. You have the power to become the programmer. Through awareness, reframing, distant self-talk, and building an inner coach, you can systematically rewrite your internal script. Your inner voice is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. The choice is, and always has been, yours. If this video gave you a new tool for your mind, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe for more ways to master your mindset, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.